Hey guys, it's Syama here, CEO of Scaling Retail. I am so excited to be coming to you from OFFPRICE. Now, OFFPRICE is home to some incredible brands, incredible buyers, and more importantly, an incredible business model. And today I'm here with Chase from Marque, and we are going to talk a little bit about the brand, why you're here, what's going on, and how this show has been. So Chase, welcome.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about Marque and a little bit about what you're doing with the brand today.
Sure, yeah, so what Marque Luxury does is pretty interesting. There's not a whole lot of companies out there, so we specialize in pre-owned and authenticated designer fashion accessories. So this is like Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Hermes, Gucci, Prada, pretty much all those major designer brands. Goodness, I'd say almost any company that you see out there, like the big buzzword that's really popular right now is pre-loved. That's like the buzzword that's in this category. So almost every business you see out there that has pre-loved luxury in their assortment, we are probably one of their suppliers behind the scenes.
How on earth are you managing inventory and supply of all these incredible luxury brands? I mean, personally, I have found that the real just can never keep up with every sort of kind of product demand. So tell me a little bit about how you're going about sourcing and supply.
Yeah, so sourcing is super interesting. That's one thing as a company internally to support the demand that we have. I mean, goodness, because we're supplying to boutiques, consignment stores, mom and pop shops, cruise ships, high-end hotels, and like anything in between. The range of the types of business models that we supply to is vast. I mean, that goes from individual sellers. Like for example, one of our clients, she's a one-woman show. She's got a couple of assistants, and she's one of the biggest accounts that we supply to. And depending on what's going on over the course of a week, I mean, she'll go through sometimes 50 bags a week that she is selling out to her customer base, and her whole thing is selling all through Instagram and Facebook Marketplace.
Wow, that's incredible! Congratulations on kind of a very specific, incredible space of luxury. Right? I mean, it's definitely not kind of what normally people think of the luxury market. I used to work at Gucci. I was in their off-price division for outlets, and I remember people being like, what? Like, luxury, off-price, how does that come together?
Yeah, so years ago, I would say that's spot on. There's a lot of education that was involved, and now, I mean, with the whole recycle, upcycle, sustainability movement, now I'd say, I mean, the category of pre-owned luxury it's almost celebrated. Now, the original retail is probably still, of course, where the world pays attention to, but there's this huge wave of businesses that are introducing a pre-owned category, maybe not necessarily just luxury, but a pre-owned category of some kind to go along with the whole sustainability movement, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. And we're helping tons of stores introduce the category. We've got introductory programs to help stores either grow it or introduce it.
I love that. That's fantastic. It's a great point. In terms of your particular kind of business model, right, and reselling pre-loved, celebrated goods, and I love that framing of something that's pre-loved and celebrated. Yeah. Most brands, when you buy from them, they have a suggested MSRP. But in this particular context, right, where it's kind of this gray market in terms of pricing, do you just kind of sell to the buyer and kind of let them do their own markups? Or how do you kind of look at your relationship with the buyer post-purchasing?
Yeah, so we were one of the things that we say, we were doing video calls long before it was cool. Seriously, long before the whole world that we're in now, video calls and photos were like the name of the game of how everything was done. And we've got like 10 or 11 showrooms across the country right now. So we do a video call to show all the inventory that's available. There'd be condition call outs, because whenever something's pre-owned, we've got a grading scale, and from like things that are practically still original retail all the way down to things that have a lot of previous love. So, and there can be typical things that we'd see would be like if there'd be like a water stain or color marks, and there's things that would be expected, then there's others like, okay, we want to call this one out, or pen marks is something else. Usually there's not too much of a concern either from the buyer's part or even down for the consumer. They just need to know ahead of time. So that's why we have the condition grade and then do the quick video calls. And usually I'd say after a buyer does their second order with us or so, they kind of get a feel for the condition grading and what to expect. And I mean, I do orders, our whole team does do orders sight unseen. So they'll know the style, they'll know the condition and so forth, and they'll say, okay, yeah, that works, send it to us.
And being one of a few, and to be quite honest, I don't know anyone else who's doing what you're doing, right? So to probably be one of a handful of people who are really actively pushing this out into the market. How are you finding your supply? Are you turning over a lot of inventory right now? I mean, how do you even plan for cyclicality in something that feels so evergreen?
Yeah, so the supply chain is, I mean, there's ebbs and flows, but that's why we've cast such a wide net to, I mean, stores that we'll even source from, even some consignment stores that we have unique relationships with, we'll acquire from them. But I think the thing that's been some of the most helpful, one of the most helpful tools that we have for the different stores that we supply to, one, we have no minimums. So if a store is just starting out, we always recommend have a good 10 items so it looks like a store's in the categories and there's something to look at and someone has some options. But we do refill orders all day long that are 1, 2, or 3 units. We have no problem with that. And then, but I think the most significant help that we have to the stores is that we have a 90-day exchange program.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, it sounds like a really very win-win scenario here with any of your buyers, and then also your product and finding the right fit. Also seems like there's no shortage of demand.
And that's, I mean, what's been great for this whole. I've worked in the apparel industry for about 10 years now, and I went to college for the apparel industry, and this is one of the most unique and unusual and just fascinating categories of the industry that I've ever fallen into. If you would have told me 2 or 3 years ago, hey Chase, you're gonna, in a couple of years, you're gonna be selling handbags for a living, I'd have been like, no, I'm not.
How do I best approach a show like this? How do I know what to expect? And then obviously, how do I even think about kind of post-show follow-up? So what's some of your insider tips and tricks to being here, managing expectations, and following up?
The first thing that came to mind as you're asking the question was to be everywhere. So Off-Price has been a great show for myself as an individual, but also with Marque. This is actually one of our most significant shows of numbers that we do and then people that we meet. And that's been the case for quite some time. And we have other shows that we do great at as well, but Off-Price has always been one of our top shows. But going to the whole be everywhere idea, that's what I was thinking of when you were asking the question, because all the different shows that I've been to, you're taking little pieces of insight from every event that you go to, and also whether that's there's a lot of online summits that happen now as well, and just seeing, you've got to create your own hive mind, if you will, just gathering information and resources from all over the place. And also, I would say for anyone to get really good at understanding the supply chain, not just specific to their own area. So for example, you've got your manufacturers to wholesale to retail, and there's other little facets along the way. But I've seen some buyers that are, I'm a wholesale buyer because, or they're a retail, they're a buyer for a retail store, but they only are focusing on purchasing from brands or wholesalers. Those people, I think, should be equally paying attention to the manufacturing supply chain, and then vice versa. So basically, know the whole thing, from the factory up to the retail situation. But then also with Off-Price, we're now getting into the secondary market, because that's when all this inventory has a second life, because a lot of people here there's closeout stuff, there's liquidation stuff, as well as brand new stuff that went straight from the factory to here. There's one of the companies here that I've met, they're a huge supplier to, I believe to TJX and Ross, but everything that they have here is all brand new, straight from the factory.
Sure.
But they cater to that market. So you're going to find anything and everything in here.
I love it. Amazing. Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you, Chase. Thank you so much for your time and energy.
Yeah, definitely. You're welcome.
Couldn't be more thrilled to have you here. Cannot wait to take a look at the product. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping we can head back and see some cool shit. But thank you so much for your time. Definitely. All right, guys, that's it with Marque. I'm so thrilled to see some product. Obviously, we're seeing a huge trend here in terms of pre-loved goods that are being highly celebrated in the luxury space. Personally, I think I need to do some shopping. And anyone who's here today, you guys doing cash and carry?
We are doing cash and carry.
Amazing. Terrible for my pocketbook. Fantastic for Marque. But thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you soon. Bye.